Minimalism, Living a Quiet, Void Lifestyle for Peace of Mind. Written by Rebecca Morez. Narrated by Audiobooks to Go. Table of Contents. Chapter 1. The Meaning of Minimalism. Chapter 2. Q&A about Minimalism. Chapter 3. The Advantages. Chapter 4. The 4 lifestyle choices that will keep you young. Chapter 5. The best 3 ways to eliminate negative energy. Chapter 6. How to Feng Shui your office. Chapter 1. The Meaning of Minimalism. So, what do you think? Just what's this minimalism thing? It's quite simple. To be a minimalist, you must deal with less than 100 things. You cannot even own a vehicle or a house or a TV. You can't have a profession. You should live in exotic, hard-to-pronounce places all over the world. You should begin a blog. You can't have kids. And you should be a young white male from a fortunate background. Okay, we are joking, clearly. But people who dismiss minimalism as some sort of trend typically discuss any of the above restrictions regarding why they could never ever be a minimalist. Minimalism isn't about any of those things, but it can help you accomplish them. If you prefer to live a life with less material belongings, or not own a vehicle or a television, or travel all over the world, then minimalism can aid you. Yet, that's not the point. Minimalism is a tool that can assist you in finding liberty, the freedom from fear, the freedom from concern, the freedom from being overwhelmed, the freedom from guilt, the freedom from depression, the freedom from the trappings of the consumer culture we have built our lives around. Real flexibility. That does not mean that there's anything naturally wrong with owning material possessions. Today's problem appears to be the meaning we appoint to our items. We tend to give too much meaning to our things, typically forsaking our health, our relationships, our passions, our personal growth, and our desire to contribute past ourselves. Want to own an automobile or a home? Sure. You want to raise a family and have a profession? If these things are very important to you, then that is fantastic. Minimalism just permits you to make these choices more knowingly, more deliberately. There are a lot of effective minimalists who lead considerably different lives. If we wanted to sum it up in a single sentence, we would say, minimalism is a tool to rid yourself of life's excess in favor of concentrating on what is very important, so you can find happiness, fulfillment, and liberty. Minimalism has helped us eliminate our discontent, recover our time, experience real liberty, create more, consume less, concentrate on our health, live in the moment, pursue our passions, discover our missions, grow as people, contribute beyond ourselves, rid ourselves of excess things, discover more purpose in our lives. By incorporating minimalism into our lives, we've finally been able to find long-lasting joy. And that's what we're all searching for, is it not? We all want to be happy. Minimalists search for joy not through things, but through life itself. Therefore, it depends on you to determine what is necessary and what's superfluous in your life. We plan to present to you ideas of how to attain a minimalist living style without adhering to a strict code or an arbitrary set of guidelines. A word of warning though, it isn't easy to take the first steps, but your journey to minimalism gets much easier and more satisfying the further you go. The first steps often take radical changes in your mindset, actions and practices. Stress not, however, we want to help. We have recorded our experiences so you can learn a lot from our failures and successes, using what we've learned to your own situation, assisting you in leading a more meaningful life. Chapter 2. Q&A about minimalism. Some frequently asked questions about minimalism and living the minimalist life, for those who are new to the idea. Question: why be a minimalist? Answer: it's a way to get away the excesses of the world around us. The excesses of consumerism, material possessions, clutter, having too much to do, way too much debt, a lot of interruptions, too much noise, but insufficient meaning. Minimalism is a way of shunning the non-essential so as to focus on what's really crucial, what gives our lives a purpose, what gives us happiness and value. Question: isn't minimalism boring or too sporadic? With absolutely nothing in your life? Answer: this is a mistaken belief about minimalism, that it is always monk-like, empty, dull, sterile. Not at all. Well, it can be, if you go in that direction, but I do not promote that flavour of minimalism. Instead, we're eliminating all but the most essential things, to make room for that which gives us the most happiness. Clear away the distractions so we can create something unbelievable. Clear away all the obligations so we can hang around with loved ones. Clear away the noise so we can focus on inner peace, on spirituality if we wish, on our thinking. As a result, there is more joy, peace, and joy because we've made room for these things. Question: what is minimalist living? Answer: it's just eliminating things you don't use or need, leaving an uncluttered, simple environment and an uncluttered, basic life. It's living without a fixation on tangible things, or a fascination on doing everything and doing way too much. It is using easy tools, having a basic wardrobe, carrying little and living gently. Question: what are the advantages of minimalism? Answer: there are many. It's lower in stress. It's less expensive and less financial debt. It's less cleansing and keeping. It's more satisfying. There's more room for creating, for loved ones, for peace, for doing the things that give you joy. There's more time for getting healthy. It's more sustainable. It's simpler to organize. These are only the start. Question: what does the schedule of a minimalist look like? Answer: there's no single answer to this question, but a minimalist would probably concentrate on doing less, on having a less cluttered schedule, but what is on his or her schedule would be necessary. A minimalist may not actually keep a schedule or calendar at one extreme. If he did not have much to do each day, he might instead live and work moment by moment, or just choose each early morning to focus on one or two important things. A minimalist would also save a lot of time because of having less clutter and less belongings. That means less time cleaning and keeping, and less time looking for things. A minimalist who eliminates diversions and single tasks would also squander less time with those interruptions and in changing back and forth between tasks, multitasking. In general, all this leads to more time for relaxing, for hobbies, for creating, for doing fun things. Question: what guidelines do I need to follow to become a minimalist? Answer: there are no real set-in-stone guidelines. There's no body way. What I advise for living minimally isn't what someone else would advise, nor is it how you would live your minimalist life. Generally speaking, however you want to live, just without a lot of unnecessary possessions, diversions, mess or waste. You want to live frugally, debt-free, sustainably, naturally. Question: do you really need to be vegan or vegetarian to be minimalist? Answer: no. While I really believe the vegan-vegetarian lifestyle follows minimalism, you can eat just as an omnivore too. Once again, there's no one way. A minimalist would try to eat naturally, without way too much processing, and not eat too much food, such as the ludicrous parts at most dining establishments nowadays. Question: I believe in streamlining, but why should I be so frugal? What's wrong with some really good things? Answer: thriftiness is just a way of not investing in unneeded things, adhering to the fundamentals. Is there anything wrong with some really nice things? Not necessarily. If you need to buy something, it's generally better to go for quality rather than cheap, simply because it is better made and will last longer. Minimalism is about quality over quantity. Nevertheless, it's always good to examine whether it's good to have an accessory to material things. That isn't something I've totally succeeded with. I love my Mac, for instance, but it is something I've been working on. I'm much less connected to possessions than I was just a few years ago, and I recommend that everyone analyze their relationship with physical things, with products, and see if it's truly what they want. Question: what about finding minimalism in America, where you really need to have a vehicle and a job? The intricacies and social expectations of the United States and other developed countries is precisely why minimalism is needed. Do you need to be as minimalist as me, or a person living in the wilderness? Not at all. It's not about that. It's about finding simplicity and finding what is necessary to you, and choosing, instead of adopting the consumerist state of mind that many people have. Chapter 3: The Advantages. Minimalism is countercultural. It contrasts every ad we have ever seen because we live in a society that prides itself on the build-up of belongings. But there's more pleasure to be found in minimalist living than can be found pursuing more. Advantages of minimalism. Here are 21 effective advantages of pursuing and living a minimalist lifestyle. 1. Don't spend as much money. One important advantage of minimal living is the simple reality that it costs less. As you collect fewer things, you spend less money. In addition, it costs much less to save them, maintain them, repair them, clean them, and even discard them. And as your love for physical belongings starts to fade, you'll find more chance to use your financial resources in other ways. Many people actually believe the secret to financial independence is earning more money. Unfortunately, when we begin to make more money without spending restraints in place, we just spend more money. This truth is proven true again and again, maybe even in your own life. Alternatively, the reverse is most likely more true. The secret to financial freedom is actually spending less. It's the most basic resolution to practically all your money issues. Live a life that builds up only the essential often results in the financial freedom you've been looking for. 2. A minimalist home is less stressful. Clutter is a kind of visual diversion, as every little thing in our vision subtly plucks our attention. The less mess, the less visual stress we experience. A minimalist home has a calming feel. I have found this to be true, and you'll too with the basic equipment. Compare 2 countertops, one that's clear, minimal, and one that is jumbled. Look at each of them individually and determine your internal reaction. Just what is your psychological response? Notice how the clear countertop brings about a calming impact, and the messy one brings feeling of diversion or anxiety. Now magnify this emotional reaction throughout your entire home. A minimalist home is substantially less stressful. I have found this to be totally true, and so will you. 3. It's simpler to clean up. When we first started to declutter our home, we began simple. The designs in our living room was just one of the first projects. Immediately after removing them, I was amazed at the amount of dust found on the racks, specifically the top shelves. Clearly, the vast number of knickknacks on the shelving made the proposal of dusting a challenging job. Additionally, when we completed decluttering our kids' toy room, we noticed it took much less time to put their toys away in the evening. And when we began decluttering our closet, we found it much easier to keep our closets neat. This benefit became extremely clear. The less things in our home, the much easier it is to clean. 4. It will give you more flexibility. This benefit took me by surprise. I had just finished lessening my office at work, and as I put the last few items in their newfound home, I kept commenting out loud, "This feels so good. Today has been a great day." It was an emotion and reaction I did not expect to experience. Some feelings of flexibility was coming by me as I kept taking a look around at my new, simple office. No longer would my work environment feature 3 bookcases of books that I should have read. No longer would my desktop be cluttered with stacks of paper that should be submitted properly. No longer am I strangled by mess as I sit in my office attempting to work. The sense of flexibility that comes from minimalism is truly rejuvenating. Undoubtedly, it is more than a feeling. It is a truth that can specify your life. 5. It's good for the environment. Assume for just a minute you have one of those moms that does all of the work around the home for you. Early every morning when you get up, she makes your bed and the cooking area is clean no matter what the family ate for supper the night before. If that was the case, how would you show the most respect and honour to your mom? Would you best bring her honour by taking out each toy and making as large a mess as possible for her to clean? Or would you bring her honour by keeping things clean, by putting your own toys away and keeping the room as close to excellence as possible? The second one, of course. You would bring honour to her by sustaining the excellence that she desires for you as much as possible. That's how I look at the environment. If it began in a state of excellence, we would most honour it by taking as much care of the environment as we can. The less we take in, the less damage we do to the environment, and that benefits everybody. 6. You can be more efficient. Our possessions consume our time. Whether we're cleaning them, organising them, purchasing them or selling them, the more we own, the more time they rob from our lives. Take shopping, for example. The typical American spends nearly 12 hours every month shopping. Now, while it is impossible to completely eliminate shopping from our schedules, one advantage of living simply is the chance to live a more productive life by the plain fact that we spend less time shopping. Include the time we spend cleaning, arranging and organising our items once we get it in our houses, and we're starting to discuss a considerable portion of time. We merely get one chance to live a life. We would be a good idea to make it as productive as possible. 7. It's a fine example for your kids. Becoming a minimalist is designed for my kids that personal valuables are not the key to happiness, that security is found in their character, and that the pursuit of joy runs a completely different road than the pursuit of belongings. Those are important life lessons they will never learn at school or in the media. 8. You can support better causes. Living a basic life offers the opportunity to economically support other causes. Minimalism provides an opportunity to not just save money for the sake of keeping it for myself, but to use it to more causes that I have faith in. I met a guy recently who has just put his home on the market to sell, so that he can donate some money to a charity that he has faith in highly. Let me adjust that. He has put one of his homes on the market. He has just recently determined that there are more important things in life than owning homes in each you can possibly imagine environment. Now, I might not be lured to sell my home. I only have one, But I am seeing the value of not purchasing another coat this winter, another art piece for my wall, or another new and improved cleaning resolution, so that my finances can be given to larger causes. I am learning that our money is only as important as what we choose to spend it on. 9. It will help you buy higher quality things. I am going to admit this advantage of minimalism came unanticipated to me. For some reason, I didn't integrate owning fewer things and owning better things in my mind. However, the truth is they go hand in hand and are directly associated. When we made a dedication to purchase less things, we opened our lives to the opportunity of owning nicer things. Take your closet, for example. If you are like most, you have 25 mediocre shirts awaiting your closet, although you actually only wear 10 of them and really love even less. A lot more practical method is to have 10 t-shirts that you truly, really love hanging in your closet instead of 25 that you just kinda like. Based on the budgetary reality that we only have a specific amount of money that we can spend on clothes, you can either buy 20 t-shirts at $20 each or 10 at $40 each. In this way, a minimalist living style permits you to purchase higher quality products. Just remember, more is not better. Better is better. 10. Others won't need to work as hard. This past year, my mom arranged the possessions of a departed parent. This past month, my friend managed an estate sale of a family as they transitioned into assisted living. That past week, I helped a family move out of their home of 45 years. Hours and hours were spent going through boxes and boxes of possessions, room by room. Some things were kept, some things were sold, much was gotten rid of. In each case, someone besides the owner of the belongings was doing all the work. Consider the fact that at some time in your life or in your death, each single item of your possessions will be arranged by another person. You can produce for yourself a less stressful life today by living a minimalist life and decrease the burden on a person near you also. For the sake of your closest loved ones, choose to live an easy minimalist life. 11. You will be happier. Owning less belongings makes you happier. According to a survey by the Simpleness Institute, an organization that surveyed 2,500 people across numerous countries who self-identified themselves as coping with less possessions, 87% of respondents indicated they were happier now than when they owned more possessions. This may sound contrary to every little thing we've been told growing up. But when we begin to consider the benefits of dealing with less debt, less tension, less cleaning, it starts to make a lot of sense why these statistics would be true. Joy isn't found in owning as many belongings as possible. It's found living life consistent with your greatest passions. 12. You can do the work that you really love to do. Confucius, an old Chinese philosopher, is credited with saying, "Choose a job you love, and you'll never have to work a day in your life." Whether you are 16, 26 or 76, you are choosing today that will chart the course for the rest of your life. And the ones who choose to embrace the idea of dealing with less open up the rest of her or his life to unlimited possibilities, including choosing a passion as a profession. Someone who chooses to deliberately live with less has less need to hold a certain level of salary. As a result, they can choose whatever career course they most desire. Their choice does not need to be dictated by salary level. And while there is nothing wrong with making money, when your wage package can be removed from the career choice formula, you are free to choose your career based on other elements, like something I really want to do. Own less things. Choose work you love. Chapter 4. The 4 lifestyle choices that will keep you young. A study released in September 2013 shows for the first time that changes in diet, exercise, stress management and social support might lead to longer telomeres, the parts of chromosomes that affect aging. The study was published online in The Lancet Oncology. The research study was carried out by scientists at UC San Francisco and the Preventative Medicine Research Study Institute, a not-for-profit public research institute in Sausalito, California, that examines the influence of diet and living style choices on health and illness. The scientists say they hope the results will influence bigger trials to test the credibility of the findings. This study is the first regulated trial to show that lifestyle changes may lengthen telomeres over time. This was a breakthrough finding that needs to be verified by bigger research studies, said co-senior author Peter R. Carroll, MD, miles per hour, professor and chair of the UCSF Department of Urology. Telomere reducing boosts the risk of a wide range of chronic illnesses, Carroll said. Our company believed that boosts in telomere length could help to prevent these conditions and perhaps even lengthen lifespan. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of chromosomes that impact how quickly cells age. The combos of DNA and protein help them remain steady by safeguarding the ends of chromosomes. As telomeres end up being shorter, their structural stability deteriorates, which triggers cells to age and die younger. In the last few years, shorter telomeres have become associated with a broad range of aging-related illnesses, including many forms of cancer, stroke, vascular dementia, heart disease, weight problems, osteoporosis and diabetes. 4 basic way-of-life choices can change your fate. Our genes and our telomeres are not always our fate, said lead author Dean Ornish, MD, UCSF Scientific Professor of Medicine, and founder and president of the Preventative Medication Research Study Institute. So, typically people think, "Oh, I have bad genes. There's nothing I can do about it," Ornish said. But these discoveries show that telomeres might lengthen to the degree that people change how they live. Research suggests that longer telomeres are connected with fewer health problems and longer life. For 5 years, the scientists followed 35 men with localized, early-stage prostate cancer to explore the relationship between thorough lifestyle changes and telomerase activity. The new study was created to figure out if the lifestyle changes would impact telomere length and telomerase activity in these men over a longer time period. 4 way-of-life choices that keep you young. Plant-based diet plan, high in fruits, veggies and unrefined grains, and low in fat and refined carbohydrates. Moderate exercise, walking 30 minutes a day, 6 days a week. Stress decrease, gentle yoga-based stretching, mindfulness, breathing, meditation. Social support network, friends, family, sense of community. The scientists say the findings might not be limited to guys with prostate cancer and are likely to be appropriate to the general population. We looked at telomeres in the individual's blood, not their prostate tissue, said Ornish. The new study is a follow-up to a similar 3-month pilot investigation in 2008, in which the same participants were asked to follow the exact same living style program. After 3 months, the men in the initial research study exhibited considerably increased telomerase activity. Telomerase is an enzyme that repairs work and extends telomeres. These findings reconfirm the structure of the athlete's way. In my book, I have an area called Do You Wish to Live Longer and Better, which concentrates on 4 tricks of durability. The advice for how to live long is simple. Eat better, move more, practice mindfulness and tend and befriend. Since the 1970s, people like René Dubos of Rockefeller University and Alexander Leaf of Harvard Medical School have studied the tricks to living longer and happier lives. Time and again, these 4 core tenets of longevity resurface. I would also suggest including a sense of enthusiasm, attaining small and big goals, and an optimistic outlook to your everyday mix. But these 4 are the keystones of durability. Conclusion. Simple lifestyle changes will increase your lifespan. Diet plan, exercise, stress reduction and preserving a social support network are the secrets to durability. Making basic living style changes keeps each cell in your body more youthful by lengthening telomeres. My dad died too young. Earlier this week, his sister Kay came to visit me for a couple of days. It was the first time Aunt Kay and I had spent quality time together since my father passed away. We recollected about my dad's life and how awful it was that he died too young. My dad passed away of a cardiovascular disease. It is obvious to me that the combination of high stress, little exercise, poor diet plan and social seclusion all added to my dad's heart disease and death. All of us have loved ones who have gotten ill and passed away because of lifestyle choices. I urge you to make little changes in your day-to-day routine that include stress decrease, social connection, physical activity and a healthier diet. Each of us has the power to slow down the aging process at a cellular level and to survive longer. Please encourage your family and friends to incorporate these 4 lifestyle choices into their daily routines, so everybody you love can stay healthy, happy and alive for as long as possible. Chapter 5. The best 3 ways to eliminate negative energy. First, a confession. I'm not a specialist in Feng Shui. Feng Shui? Feng Shui? Feng Shui? I'm not even sure how to spell it. My expertise is in sustaining well-being and in turning harmful relationships to positive ones. At the exact same time, healthy relationships like a healthy office or home building depend on positive energy flows. Feng Shui, from my minimal understanding, offers ways to keep the positive energies flowing and to decrease the presence of negative energies. Positive energies originate from expressing enthusiasm, interest in others. Gratitude, appreciation and affection bring happiness. Negative energies interfere with joy. I'm thrilled to report that the following 3 standard principles from About.com on how to Feng Shui your house or office can offer a useful method for clearing the negative energy from relationships. These concepts really apply to all relationships. Clear the negative energy and augment the positive with all the people you communicate with. Your loved ones, lover, spouse, kids, seniors and also good friends and co-workers. Spreading out negative energy in relationships invites depression in the ones with whom you interact, triggers annoyance in you, and increases the chances that people will want to keep their distance from you. By contrast, stimulating the flow of positive energy in your interactions makes you safe and attractive to be with. 1. Mess. Clear out your mess. Eliminate every little thing you do not love in your home. Mess in a house is easy to see. Clutter on your desk, at work is also. But what constitutes clutter in a relationship? As I've written in an earlier publishing, there's a handful of little words that make huge messes. Here's a fast list of them. The less usually you use them, the better. Still, which erases what came before? Demoralizing the person who has just told you something? Not which puts darkness where light belongs. You, when it points a critical or accusatory finger at the individual with whom you are talking. My article on clearing emotional clutter from your relationships offers further specifics. 2. Sunshine. Have good quality air and top quality light. Good relationships need breathing space. With co-workers, clear division of labour gives boundaries and areas between what you do and what others do. With your boss, room to make many decisions on your own gives you space. With lovers and spouses, enabling time for each of you to be on your own, and space to each have your own viewpoints and activities is essential. With kids, beware of hovering overprotectively or telling them way too much about what they are supposed to do. Kids really need space to be creative on their own, to hear their own inner drummer, to make mistakes and learn a lot from them. Good relationships also love the light of positivity. Agreement, appreciation, shared laughter, attention to one another. Appreciation and shared love are essential. 3. Tone. Always bear in mind the feel of your home. Do you focus sufficiently on the tone of your voice, or do you ignore negative irritation that is rather clear to the receiver? Any tone of "I'm right, you are wrong" gives what Eric Berne once termed an "I'm okay, you're not okay" message. So does frustration, annoyance, sarcasm, contempt, or anger. Stress and anxiety is another emotional spoiler. While occasional anxiety can inform you to an issue that needs your attention, frequent or continuous restless energies might indicate cognitive patterns you may want to change. Criticism is a sure way to spread out negative energy to others. Criticism, especially when it is spoken to an inflamed tone of voice, conveys a "you're not okay" message. Telling others what to do is right up there with tone of voice and criticism when it comes to spreading out negative energy. All of us want to be the captain of our own ship, so beware of pushing the "don't control me" button. Demands are fine if they're genuinely questions. Demands are not, including subtle remarks like "I need you to" or "I would like you to." Demands have a question in them. How would you feel about, or could you please? A work circumstance is somewhat different. There, employer and staff members have agreed that one will tell the other what to do in exchange for salary or earnings. In other relationships, though, skip the dictating. Telling kids what to do is generally unnecessary too. Giving orders engenders negative resistance, so instead of "wipe the milk from your face," you will receive a more positive response with a cheery milk mouth alert. In amount to feng shui your relationships: 1. Clear the clutter by watching out for the little words that make huge messes. 2. Give each other air and light by means of plenty of space and the positive energy you emanate. 3. Be aware of the tone. Stop arguing by deleting negative energy in your tone of voice, avoiding criticism, and changing from telling others what to do to defining the problem and letting them figure out what to do about it. Chapter 6. How to Feng Shui Your Office. Feng Shui is the art of influencing our internal state by arranging our environments to promote well-being and success. Though Feng Shui is an ancient practice, modern psychology regularly confirms that our environment affects our feelings. Case in point, when people are around happy people, they tend to have more energy and feel less stressed. Increased humidity decreases concentration. Sunshine decreases exhaustion. It's a little wonder, then, that Feng Shui is progressively used to develop productive, serene and inspiring workspaces, particularly since half of USA staff members report disliking their existing work environment. One online Feng Shui art design service clarifies, "We spend the majority of our day at work, so the office is actually where Feng Shui is most needed to manage tension and amplify inspiration, performance and creative skill." Here are a few research-backed Feng Shui principles I have applied to my own home, office that could be of benefit to yours. Declutter. Stuff uses up space. Ends up, it also takes up energy. Research studies show that physical clutter can lead to stress and depression. Conversely, research suggests that getting more organized can enhance time management, which increases productivity at work. Happiness guinea pig and author Gretchen Rubin writes, "For most people, outer order adds to inner calm." Michelle Serrano of Feng Shui Manhattan defines mess as anything incomplete, unsettled, endured, or disorganized, and clutter you can't see still counts. Instead of packing things away, recycle or donate them if you won't miss them. As a Huffington Post article advises, have nothing that you do not know to be beneficial or really believe to be gorgeous. Similarly, Rubin warns, Be very mindful about letting yourself store something you hardly ever use. Otherwise your office will be, as George Carlin put it, just a pile of items with a cover on it. But empty space isn't the goal. Feng Shui experts recommend half of your desktop be occupied, while the University of Minnesota realized that individuals at an untidy desk thought of more creative uses for a ping-pong ball than participants at tidy desks. Specialists Craig Knight likewise say that people, as animals with fundamental needs for enrichment and stimulation, shouldn't work in impoverished areas. Experiment with the best balance for you by occasionally moving things around. Reposture. Feng Shui also advocates altering our position in the room for optimum command over our environment. An example could be this. We should not sit with our backs to the door, and we should sit with the wall straight behind us. Commanding position isn't readily available to everybody, but we can still embody it with the right posture. Time magazine says the following: dropping makes you miserable, pointing out research that staying up straight raises your mood. Other findings suggest that put-up posture gives you more confidence in your thoughts. But you needn't always be straight as an arrow to benefit from reposturing. Researcher Amy Cuddy realized that when people sit or stand with their bodies taking up space, arms expanded, legs open, they produce more testosterone and less stress hormones. The key is to be mindful of how you're using up space in the room. Play with different positions and see how they impact your work. I try to change my posture every time I get up to take a break. Decorate. Both psychology, research and Feng Shui advise using or mimicking the natural surroundings in somebody's office or home. Feng Shui advises natural light or spectrum lighting that imitates daylight for better exposure, health and productivity. By the same token, research has repeatedly shown that office plants lower staff member stress levels while lowering office pollution. Feng Shui motivates working in large open parts without jagged angles or sharp corners. Likewise, a 2007 study realized that higher ceilings were related to a more abstract and rational thinking style that helped individuals see the commonalities between objects and ideas. And a 2011 study found out that undergrads looking at pictures of room interiors chosen those with rounded as opposed to rectilinear furniture. Another research study found rounder areas set off more activity in brain areas associated with benefit and aesthetic appreciation. Even the colours around us can affect our productivity and health and well-being at work. This is an example. Green is related to renewal, fresh energy and new beginnings in Feng Shui. Likewise, green has been scientifically revealed to boost efficiency on tasks that need generating new ideas. But don't tension about the specifics. The specific details of Feng Shui could be less important than how we feel about what we do produce. The easy act of making your own decisions about how to organize your workspace is advantageous. In one research study, workers given the chance to set up a small office with as many or few plants and photos as they really wanted, depended on 32% more efficient than others not given this choice. Another research study notes that anything we do to our offices depends most importantly on how we view it. When I take a seat at my desk, each early morning, I take stock of the beautiful office I've created. My back is to the door, and my office is the size of a half bath, but I have chosen and set up all of its contents, and that feels good. Calling it Feng Shui or not, we can craft who we want to be and how we want to feel by knowingly tending to the space around us. This has been Minimalism, Living a Quiet, Void Lifestyle for Peace of Mind, written by Rebecca Moraes, narrated by Audiobooks to Go. Minimalism, The Ultimate Minimalist Lifestyle Explained, written by Rebecca Moraes, narrated by Audiobooks to go. Table of Contents. Chapter 1, Minimalism Explained. Chapter 2, Defining it Again. Chapter 3, Tiny Steps for the Newbie Minimalist. Chapter 4, Which Sort of Minimalist Are You? Chapter 5, The History of Minimalism Explained. Chapter 6, Finding Your Own Variation of a Minimalist Lifestyle. Chapter 1, Minimalism Explained. I would like to take a second to go over minimalism as a philosophy and a practice to ensure we are all on the same page regarding what it means and how it is done. So, when you think of minimalism, you likely think of getting rid of things, not purchasing anything new, and living in a small white room without any furnishings or pictures on the wall. This could be true, but for the most part it is not. It's important to understand that the decrease of physical belongings is usually a result of minimalism, not minimalism itself. Just handing out a lot of things doesn't make you a minimalist, any more than purchasing a statue of Buddha makes you a Buddhist, or doing yoga makes you healthy. It is one aspect of the whole, for sure, but you needn't partake if that is not where your concerns happen to be. There are usually other alternatives. And that's what is essential to establish here. Priorities. What minimalism is really all about is reassessment of your top priorities so that you can remove the excess things, the possessions and the ideas and relationships and activities that do not bring value to your life. If you are able to say with absolute certainty, "This is very important to me. My little ponies are my life, and being involved with them is what makes me want to get up in the early morning," you should invest more effort and time in your collection. When they really start to think about it, however, the majority of people understand that the physical things they own aren't the most vital parts of their lives. If you can take a day and truly commit yourself to focusing on what is very important, you'll likely recognize a great deal of things that are more vital than building up physical products, and if this is how it is, it could be time to begin losing weight your haul. My minimalistic tendencies. When I began deep diving into my real hopes and dreams, I realized that what I actually longed for and wasn't getting living in LA was a sense of experience and constant change. I prosper on the exhilaration of adventure and risk and structure things, and primarily I was only doing the latter, and in a very restricted style. It was time to refocus and reposition myself so that I would be able to fully invest in my passions. For me, eliminating all the crap I'd built up was as much a sign of my shift as a part of it. As fast as I started slimming down the closets and closet, I thought, "This is real. I'm actually doing it." This thought can be just as essential as the realization that something needs to change, because it enhances that you have the power to change your fate. Getting rid of items. If you want to get rid of a lot of items, I suggest requiring time to find out what you're keeping first. The number of belongings you have does not really matter, but being able to live a very happy life does. I count and note my belongings to track how much I actually need to travel comfortably. But having more or less than somebody else is entirely approximate. Don't get rid of stuff just because you can. If you do this, the most likely outcome is that you will be miserable and lonely without your things, and will just wind up buying new versions of them, which supports noticeable consumption, expenses you a bunch of money, kills the tropical rainforest, and ruins the world in general. Don't put yourself in the position to yo-yo when it comes to this many things. What I would suggest is gradually evaluating out the waters and seeing what you can and cannot live without. I thought for certain that I would not be able to make it without my good wardrobe, iPhone, and tank-like desktop, but once they were gone, my heart kept pounding and I had more money and time to invest in other things. I don't miss them. I have seen, however, that I like to have a guitar, so I make it a point to purchase a low-cost, locally made one any time I'm going to be remaining in one place for some months or more. I also like to own sound, basic clothing, and a high-performing, highly portable laptop. What's nice about being a minimalist is that all those freed-up resources can be reapplied to the parts of your life that you care about. I do not have to reconsider spending money on a great laptop computer just because I know I've got it to spend. Just keep in mind that minimalism is a tool like any other, and you should not end up being dogmatic about it any more than you would about a faith or other philosophy. Take the practices that work for you and which help you live a better life, but leave the others for the ones that find value in them. We do not get reward points when we crave owning more things than the other guy, nor do we get a trophy for owning less than somebody else. We do get to smile on our deathbeds if we took pleasure in the hell out of life, though, so that is what I prepare to concentrate on. Chapter 2. Defining it again. I am typically asked the question, so what's minimalism anyway? It is an important question I receive from other people I have just met, and from people I have known for several years. I normally address them with a brief, easy explanation. Minimalism is owning fewer ownerships. Like I discussed before, minimalism is intentionally living with only the things I actually really need, those products that support my purpose. I'm getting rid of the interruption of excess belongings, so I can concentrate a lot more on things that matter the most. That is my brief elevator pitch answer. But frequently I want to answer more thoroughly. When people ask follow-up questions that enable me to explain simple living further, I like to add, it is intentionality. It is marked by clearness, purpose and intentionality. At its core, being a minimalist means deliberately promoting the important things we most value and eliminating every little thing that distracts us from it. It is a life that forces intentionality on us. As a result, it forces enhancements in almost all aspects of your life. Intentionality looks different for everybody, as no two people are the same. But it needs each of us to dive deeper and end up being more introspective about our values and passions. It is the freedom from the passion to have. Modern society has bought into the lie that the good life is found in collecting things, in possessing as much as possible. They believe that more is better and have inadvertently subscribed to the idea that joy can be purchased at an outlet store. But they're wrong. Embracing minimalism brings freedom from the intense passion to possess. It steps off the treadmill of consumerism and attempts to seek joy somewhere else. It values relationships, experiences and soul care. It lets us see all that we already have and reminds us to be grateful. In doing so, we find a more abundant life. It is freedom from modern mania. Our world performs at a feverish pace. We are too hurried and too stressed. We work long, passionate hours to pay all of the bills, but fall deeper into money debt every day. We hurry from one activity to another, even multitasking along the way, but never ever seem to get anything done. We remain in continuous connection with others through our cellular phone, but true life-altering relationships continue to avoid us. Being a minimalist decreases life and releases us from this modern-day hysteria to live much faster. It offers freedom to disengage. It seeks to keep only the essentials. It aims to remove the unimportant and keep the significant. It values the intentional endeavors that add value to life. It is the freedom from duplicity. Although nobody deliberately chooses it, many people live in duplicity. They live one life around their family, one life around their co-workers, and another life around their neighbours. The lifestyle they have chosen needs them to portray a certain external image, dependent upon their situations. They are tossed and turned by the most recent marketing campaign or the needs of their company. On the other hand, a simple life is united and consistent. It has learned a way of life that is totally transferable, no matter the situation. It is the exact same life on Friday evening as it is on Sunday morning, as it is on Monday early morning. It is reliable and unfluctuating. It operates in all circumstances. It is truthful and transparent. It is countercultural. We live in a world that idolizes celebrities. They are photographed for publications, interviewed on the radio and noted for television. Their lives are held up as the golden requirement and are envied by many. People who live simple lives aren't promoted by the media in the same way. They don't suit the consumerist society that is promoted by corporations and politicians. Still, they live a life that's attractive and inviting. While many people are chasing after success, glamour and fame, minimalism calls out to us with a smaller sized, quieter, calmer voice. It invites us to decrease, take in less but enjoy more. And when we meet someone living a simplified life, we often recognize that we have been chasing the wrong things the whole time. It is entirely attainable. Becoming a minimalist is completely possible. My family stands as living evidence. We were just your common family of 4, living in the suburbs, collecting as much stuff as our salary and charge cards would enable. After this, we found minimalism. We have embraced minimalist living and will never return to the way life was before. We stand as living evidence that simple living is completely attainable and special to anybody who seeks it. Generally, I find that those that are usually interested in understanding more and make the effort to ask the follow-up questions are drawn to the concepts of a minimalist living style. After all, it offers practically every little thing our heart has been asking for the whole time. Will minimalism immediately make me content? Although it is a great start, it isn't an instant remedy. It is a pathway, not the end objective. Becoming a minimalist will give you more time and will free up more of your money than ever before. However, we must concentrate on gratitude every day so as to see the results. It's that journey of intentional self-improvement and valuing what we already have that will bring us contentment. What is a minimalist living style? It means dealing with things you actually really need. It means getting rid of anything that sidetracks us from coping with intentionality and liberty. Is minimalist living boring? Minimalist living is the reverse of boring. It removes ordinary activities that remove from spending quality time with our loved ones. Once we rid ourselves of the unneeded, we have the ability to choose what will specify our lives. Some travel the world full-time. Others will find themselves more associated with their families' lives than ever previously. Being minimalist releases us to live a larger life with a more passionate pursuit of our biggest purpose and goals. Does this mean I can't be nostalgic? Remember, less isn't the exact same as none. There are no particular rules to basic living, and no one is required to get rid of things that bring value to their life. Most minimalists keep some emotional items in their life. They just keep less than others. And rather than stuffing our nostalgic personal belongings in a storage unit or a garage, we proudly show them in our own home. For more reasons you should change to minimalist living, consider these statistics. Adult Americans get rid of more than 68 pounds of clothes each year. 20 to 21% of working Americans say they're not saving any cash for retirement. Many of those who are saving put away no more than 10% of their salary. The typical American family has 300,000 items. The typical family in America spends $1,700 on clothes each year. Chapter 3: Tiny Steps for the Newbie Minimalist. Similar to thinking about other living style changes, People who are thinking of becoming a minimalist usually fall into 3 classifications. 1. Let's go. Where is the dumpster? 2. No thanks. I don't have a things problem. I have an area issue. 3. I am interested, but I don't know where to start. Sometimes the 2s make the dive when they see how happy the 1s and 3s are. I've become a minimalist slowly. I came into minimalism, stepped out, moved forward, returned and finally began to lean in regularly. What took me so long? Over the course of 7 years, I streamlined my diet, items, debt, health, home and business. There are several reasons that I purposefully took my time. In my experience, sluggish shifts are more sustainable than transformation. I have a family and they proceed. I needed to experiment to determine what sufficed for me. I was seeking more. Just getting rid of stuff was not my intent. I wanted to find what meant most to me, what made my heart sing. I'm still seeking, exploring and defining enough. I don't have an end point in mind. If you are a novice or somewhere in your journey to streamline your life and end up being a minimalist, enjoy these small steps. 1. Write it down. Make a list of all the reasons you want to live more simply. If you are ill of money debt collectors, write it down. Mad that you never ever get at any time with your kids? Compose it down. Too stressed to sleep at night? Put it on paper. Want to fire your boss? Yup, write that down too. These are your whys, and your whys will offer great leverage when you think it is too hard to keep going. Your whys will help you remember what matters. 2. Discard the duplicates. Walk through your home with a box and fill it with duplicates. If you have 2 sets of gorging cups, put them in the box. Copies of the exact same book or DVD. Put 1 in the box. Doubles on placemat sets. You only really need 1. When you fill the box, label it duplicates and put it out of sight for 1 month. If you don't really need anything or do not remember what was in the box, donate it. 3. Announce a clutter-free zone. This area could be a kitchen table, your nightstand, a countertop or a drawer in your kitchen area. Use that clutter-free zone as motivation to live with less. If you enjoy that clean, clear environment, expand the zone a little bit every day. A clutter-free countertop can become a clutter-free room, and a mess-free room can end up being the clutter-free, minimalist home you've been thinking about. 4. Travel gently. Pack for half the time. If you are travelling for 4 days, pack for 2. You can clean and hang clothes if you need to or wear the same things twice. See how it feels to carry less luggage. 5. Dress with less. If you haven't considered Project 333, dressing with only 33 products for 3 months. Clothes, shoes, precious jewellery, accessories sound severe, but countless people know that it actually makes life easier rather than more challenging. 6. Consume similar meals. When you think of how much time you spend thinking about what you're going to eat for lunch, make your family for supper, or what you really need to pick up at the grocery store, it's clear that food isn't always basic. You should try eating the exact same breakfast and lunch all week, and have 2 or 3 supper choices that rotate throughout the week. If your family complains, let them know it's an experiment and after that speak about it at the end of the week. 7. Conserve $1,000. An emergency situation fund streamlines everything. If you're paying off financial debt, only pay your minimum payments till you can save $1,000. If you're not in financial debt but still spend what you have, reserve money every day or each week till you reach $1,000. Try the 52-week money obstacle, and in 45 weeks, you will save more than $1,000 without ever contributing more than $45 in a week. Cash for emergency situations minimizes stress and emergencies. Try these one at a time and continue to take small steps and lean into the life you crave. Even if it takes 10 years to get to where you think you want to be, the advantages start immediately. The prettiness of being a novice minimalist is that you can be curious and bold. You can ask for help, get back up if you fall, and anticipate new adventures in a life with less items, drama, financial debt, and commitment. Chapter 4. Which sort of minimalist are you? Minimalism, in contemporary culture, is a word instilled with so much meaning that it does not appear to mean anything anymore. Minimalism is thrown around carelessly and usually offered when it comes to a book or an article, including but not limited to many you might see on this site, without enough framework to comprehend if we are all on the exact same page. And usually we are not. It turns out there are several ways to practice the same underlying abstract foundation. So I wanted to try my hand at fleshing them out, and giving surroundings and context to the lots of ways an individual can sign up for minimalism. There is one typical thread. Whatever type of minimalist you are, it's a way of life centered on less. Aesthetic minimalists. It's really all about the optics for the visual minimalists. They do not necessarily own less, but they certainly have less on display. Their preferred colour, for walls, for linens, for tableware, for every little thing, is white. Since it's all about the visuals, the visual minimalist is simple to finger. Walking to the front door of their colourless apartment or condo and area bare countertops, bare floorings and bare walls, save for maybe a single piece of abstract art in a slim frame leaned gingerly atop a shaker-style bench. Signature move, tossing out their menagerie of mismatched hangers to buy an expensive set of modernist ones. They may really love a stylish constant line drawing print. Important minimalists. The necessary minimalist is added to finding exactly how much they can live without. They are obsessed with using less, having less, and paring down their personal belongings to only the ultimate essentials. Look inside their closet or kitchen cabinets to see a collection in short supply, just enough to last a week or so till the next wash. Waste isn't typically at the leading edge of their minimalistic mind as much as quality and amount. The essentialist will at times toss their old things aside just to acquire better, more beneficial things. They do what they can within their means to purchase the best thing they can afford. If they're only going to buy one, it needs to be the best and last forever and ever. Signature move, throwing away all but a dozen hangers for their curated seasonal wardrobe. They might love changing their normal reading material with audiobooks or e-magazines. Experiential minimalists. The hallmark of the experiential minimalist is a belief that the pursuit of experiences is more widely crucial than the pursuit of things. So while the experientialist does own just a few belongings, it's simply a sign of their chosen living style rather than an outcome of any deliberate curation. You may also call them bag minimalists for their ability to fit their whole life into a bag and be ready for anything. But this brand of minimalist incorporates a wide range of personalities, from adventure-seeking hippie types to independent digital nomads. Signature move, tossing out their hangers because all their outfits are in a suitcase. They might really love taking a class to learn a new hobby or ability. Sustainable minimalists. The sustainable minimalist might just as properly be described as the eco-minimalist. Their focus is on green living, decreasing their reliance on, usage of, and damage to the environment. They will own more tools, more land, more outfits, if it means they want for less. You may find them living in the homestead life, or at the very least desiring, as their top priorities are focused around minimizing waste and living off the land as much as possible. That brand of minimalism is in some cases as much about serving the environment as it is all about serving the individual and their chosen living style. The motto that drives the sustainable minimalist is make do or do without. Signature move, crafting their own hangers from reclaimed wire and wood they sourced on their land. They might love learning how to make something from scratch. Thrifty minimalists. They may share some of the exact same waste-conscious habits as the sustainable types, but the underlying intentions of the thrifty minimalist are absolutely different. You can find them tending to their gardens, shopping at thrift stores and refinishing furnishings, but the end objective is all about spending less rather than using less. They embrace minimalist propensities because of their monetary mindset. You are going to at times find them in small apartments or at least bunked up with roomies to save money on rent. Having said that, thrifty minimalists are known to hold on to things as much as they can fit, lest they really need something like it in the future and have to change anything they once owned with more of their hard-earned dollars. Signature move, asking the dry cleaner if they have any extra wall mounts to take home with them. They may love, does, anything multi-tool that can refinish furniture or repair things around the house. Conscious minimalists. The conscious minimalist is someone who gets delight and spiritual enlightenment by ridding themselves of extra things. They practice sensible small amounts, not for any specific financial, eco-friendly or visual reasons, but simply searching for their own peace of mind. Letting go of their possessions, for the mindful minimalist, is primarily about releasing guilt or tension or other sour emotions. Removing excess enables the mindful person to find more purpose in their everyday life and better relish their intelligence, their sanctuary and their community. Signature move. Standing in their bedroom contemplating which of their clothes hangers stimulates the most joy. They may really love reading a motivational book about spiritual decluttering. Chapter 5. The History of Minimalism Explained. At the end of the day, modern-day minimalism is a practice of awareness and intention regarding your personal belongings, time and energy. Many people incorrectly try to use the word in the exact same way you would for minimalist design, which would be identified by severe deficiency. But it's a different concept. You can't characterize a lifestyle in the exact same way you would inanimate items. So, what's minimalism supposed to look like? Clutter-free living is a practice. It isn't a law. There are no mathematical or style standards. It is a practice, implying it takes practice, and you do it purposely and consistently. The objective isn't to achieve excellence or an obsessive state. It's to focus on and live in a manner in which feels full and genuine. Minimalists, for instance, position an emphasis on valuables out of a belief that our environments greatly affect all aspects of our lives. It ends up, science and research are in lovely firm agreement on that front. All of our possessions need something of us. Our time, our focus, our energy. Minimalism triggers you to be intentional about what things you allow to take from you. It is all about practicing awareness of the possessions you own and how they affect you. Not so much of the quantity or the amount, but the quality. The mantra tends to be less is more. But less of what? The what is just as essential as owning less things. You want to hang on to the important things that make you feel full and that draw out your most genuine self. Then you declutter or remove the masses of what's left. It challenges your mind and your way of living, just like a healthy diet plan and exercise challenges your body. It's a frame of mind shift. Like any other area of focused improvement, minimalism is a mindset shift. When you choose to get healthy, it requires you to change the way you think of food and exercise. Since minimalism, like essentialism, has a strong emphasis on prioritization, it naturally continues into other areas of your life. So, while you could start off by decluttering your home, you might find that you end up also streamlining your schedule and prioritizing your relationships. Your mind begins to filter things differently from a constructed practice. The history of minimalism. So let's return in time. If you're looking for some distant origins of minimalism, you can truly find mentions of it throughout history. Many spiritual groups from Buddhism to Christianity have some reference of denouncing belongings to acquire spiritual focus or knowledge. Some more extreme examples include Buddhist monks and Catholic nuns. This just gives you an idea of how far back the principles of minimizing personal belongings so as to get in areas of more importance. Now, if you try to find a main dictionary definition of minimalism, you very likely won't find what you are searching for. That is just because till relatively recently the word minimalism was not used to define a design of living. In fact, it initially had nothing to do with clutter or valuables. The term minimalism became popular in the 50s and 60s for simplified patterns. First in music and then in art and design. The ideas were similar, to get rid of all but the instrument or design pieces of focus. As it became well known in home design and architecture, those whitewashed pictures with a single aspect of focus, people began noticing the visually attractive elements of minimalist style for themselves. But that was just the start. Minimalism is a motion towards simpleness and from consumerism. You know the drill. Chances are you've lived it. Both parents or caregivers working full-time plus hours, usually with little concern from employers who have a bottom line. Welcome to a consumerist society. What even is consumerism? This isn't a small issue. It's something that's been around since the Industrial Revolution, when we moved from handmade items to devices and began mass producing. Mass production caused overproducing, which pushed us to find ways to make people buy all of this additional crap we just produced. Get in ads focused on making you think you want something, and naturally when one company does it and gets rich, it ends up being the new standard. And so, consumption and waste end up being a way of life for the purpose of social status more regularly than really need or use. It sounds like a mouthful, but basically, people are coming to recognize that more things does not bring happiness. Truth be told, it can actually carry more stress and psychological burden. One catalyst to this entire process has been the insane development of the web. Don't get me wrong, I love the web. Nonetheless, with the majority of the global population online and the techniques for marketing without boundaries being substantially more affordable than TV advertisements, things are now much easier to purchase and bring home than ever. And it is way more efficient, simply because now the advertisements are clever. They're hyper-focused so that you're only shown the things that you're likely to acquire or have purchased in the past. It is actually pretty weird how accurate this stuff is. I mean, it may not be a bad thing. At least these hyper-focused advertisements are demonstrating you what you are already interested in, rather than convince you to end up being intrigued by something you're not. So yes, we buy too many products. What is minimalism supposed to do about consumerist requirements on the home front? The result of a consumerist society has been felt by the daily working class, specifically post-recession. Both parents or caretakers are normally working, and the cost of living has went on to increase. The housing market crashed, joblessness increased, and many people became unable to get the material things, like houses, that used to be a given. Finding creative ways to not need so much aided is a sensible trend to minimalism. Requiring less means not eliminating yourself at a job you hate. It means not needing to ride the intake and waste wave. And overconsumption isn't only for the wealthy. No financial classes are immune to the shiny new device or toy phenomenon. The only distinction is the cost of the item itself. we acquire to receive some level of pleasure, enjoyment or relief with a new item. And we get it. For a little while. This is the cycle of addiction. Something gives us joy for an amount of time and then stops. So we want to fill that pleasure void with something new. The outcome is huge money debt and a home cluttered with unused items that no longer supply a sense of pleasure or purpose. What is minimalism supposed to do about these problems? Well, for one, you tend to have more cash with less mess, but, more importantly, it could offer relief from this treadmill by changing our expectations. When you really need less, you're not pushed to keep up with the buying trends. Working yourself to death does not seem so needed. Fortunately, adapting to living with less does not seem so tough any longer. What is minimalism? An actual freedom movement. As a motion, the destination is clear. To simplify and become intentional through less, but the course is really personalized. People long for authenticity. Besides the clutter, overwhelm and distractions, one of the absolute worst outcomes of mass consumerism is the superficiality it breeds. Many are coming to recognize that when you peel back the layers of superficiality, you find that the simple, genuine core is actually more stunning and complex. That's the objective, to find beauty and freedom in the world we live in. What is minimalism, if not a practice of highlighting beauty? Chapter 6. Finding your own variation of a minimalist lifestyle. If you ask 100 different people to show you what's minimalism using this definition, you will wind up with 100 different pictures of minimalism. What we each value is personal and unique to us. That's one of the things I love about minimalism. You can create whatever variation of minimalism works for you. The only key is that you choose what's most crucial to you, and then eliminate anything that does not line up with and support those values. What minimalism isn't? There is no one single answer to the question, what is minimalism? The idea of minimalism is extremely available to interpretation. Rather than attempting to include everything that minimalism is, it is more handy to sort out what minimalism is not. There are a lot of typical misunderstandings about minimalism. Ideas that make minimalism seem hard to connect to it, unfavorable or out of reach for the average individual. By attending to these common misconceptions, I intend to show you that minimalism is achievable for and can benefit anyone. 8 common mistaken beliefs about minimalism. 1. Minimalism is all about getting rid of every little thing you own. It holds true that a big part of minimalism is eliminating things from your life. However, the focus of minimalism should not be on what you are getting rid of. The focus must be on what you get by releasing the things that don't bring value to your life. Instead of concentrating on what you're getting rid of, concentrate on what minimalism gives you more of. More time, more space, more peace, more freedom. Minimalism is not about deprivation. It is all about intentionally choosing to cope with less to have more time and space for what is most important in your life. 2. Minimalism is so limiting it makes life harder. A typical misunderstanding is that minimalism makes life harder because you live with so little. That being a minimalist means getting rid of everything but the bare fundamentals, which includes things that make life more useful. Life as a minimalist is actually much easier in a number of ways. You spend less time cleaning, picking up, trying to find things, keeping your things, organizing your items, etc. After adopting a minimalist mindset, many individuals see that things they thought made life simpler are actually stealing their time and their space. Minimalism isn't about eliminating something if you actually use it often and it makes your life easier. It has a lot to do with getting rid of the important things that aren't used or needed and are just cluttering your home. 3. Minimalism and economizing are the same things. Frugality is all about spending carefully and looking for opportunities to save money. A minimalist lifestyle can lead you to spend more thoroughly and save cash, as you purchase less and shop more purposefully. But economizing isn't always the primary intention of minimalism. There is some overlap between minimalism and thriftiness, as both promote being intentional about how you spend your cash. Some individuals may even turn toward minimalism in an effort to be more penny-wise. But minimalism and frugality aren't the exact same. Minimalism is all about living with less so as to have the time and space for what matters most in your life. Additionally, minimalists may choose to buy less items but purchase higher quality products. Having said that, they're still intentional about how they spend, by buying less. Though, aren't focused on being frugal simply because they want to spend more on a higher quality product. 4. You can't have collection or hobbies if you're a minimalist. A typical mistaken belief is that minimalism means you cannot keep the things you really love. Or you can't have a collection that brings you pleasure. Or perhaps that you can't have a pastime that involves physical supplies. Again, minimalism doesn't mean you have to get rid of everything you own. Minimalism means being intentional about what you keep. Modifying your belongings down to only the things you really love and use. Eliminating the excess allows you to use and enjoy the important things you love more. The key to minimalism is moderation. Rather than having 14 collections, decide to keep 1 or 2 that you truly use or love. It means modifying your collection to only the best pieces so you can highlight those pieces and not lose them in an overgrown collection. If you have a pastime that needs physical supplies, designate a space to keep your supplies and be intentional about restricting what you keep to that space. It's really just about intentionally curating what you keep. Keeping only the supplies you will actually use instead of stockpiling supplies that are never used. Minimalism isn't about depriving yourself of the things you love. That is precisely the opposite of what minimalism really is. The entire point of minimalism is to remove all of the excess so you can truly value and use the important things you really love. You get rid of the important things you don't use or really love to make more room for what you do. 5. Minimalism means dark, all-white rooms that look cold and uninviting. While there is a minimalist design visual, often identified by all-white rooms with little furnishings or design, that doesn't mean that's the only way minimalism can look. In fact, minimalism, as a way of life, doesn't have to look a certain way at all. A minimalist room can also be vibrant with books, candlelights, throw blankets, pillows, and so on. Minimalism is when the only things you keep in your space are those that you use typically and or love. It needs to be personal and special to you, so everyone's version of it will look different. Minimalism is finding the correct amount of stuff for you. What is enough will be different for everyone. The key is keeping only what adds value to your life and eliminating the rest. As long as everything in your space is something you either use typically or absolutely love, that's minimalism. Get specific about how you want minimalism to look in your home. For example, the term cozy minimalism defines a space that is minimal and uncluttered, but still comfortable. It can help to use terms like this to get more specific and make clearer your vision of minimalism. Use this vision to create a minimalist home that works for you. Do not worry about following somebody else's aesthetic. 6. You have to follow a certain set of rules or requirements to be a real minimalist. Some people do explore following a certain set of guidelines, like dealing with less than 100 things or having less than 37 pieces in their closet. But that is not the only way to be a minimalist. The great things about minimalism is that you can develop your own set of rules, and those rules can change as your life changes. Experimenting with a set of rules can be a fascinating and tough experience. It can open your mind to new ideas. But don't let yourself be shut off or restricted by these guidelines. Sort out what works for you, and don't worry about anything that doesn't. Just remember that minimalism is identifying what you value most and eliminating anything that doesn't align with those values. 7. You cannot be a minimalist if you have kids. Minimalism only works for young, single people. Anyone can be a minimalist. It doesn't matter where you live or what you provide for work. It does not matter if you are single or have a pretty large family. As a matter of fact, I would claim that the larger your family is, the more benefits you'll see from minimalism. The more people in your house, the more things you tend to have. Getting rid of the excess and adopting a minimalist lifestyle could be a lot more essential for families. A minimalist family will look different than a young, single minimalist, but neither is more or less minimalist than the other. In each case, minimalism is about identifying what they value most and eliminating the excess to make more room for what they value. Their values will more than likely differ, so what they keep and get rid of will also vary. But minimalism can work for any person or family willing to put in the time and effort to get rid of the excess in their lives and make room for what matters most. 8. Minimalism only certainly applies to your items. Eliminating the excess stuff in your life is a big part of minimalism in the start. But stuff is actually only one part of minimalism. In fact, a big part of embracing a minimalist lifestyle is moving your mindset about stuff entirely. Learning to challenge and change your relationship with what you own and why you own it. As Brian Gardner, creator of No Sidebar, says, I have learned that minimalism isn't about what you own. It's about why you own it. Minimalism actually goes far past just what you own. It can be applied to all parts of your life. Minimalism is about figuring out what you value most in your life and eliminating anything that does not line up with that. Once you've started dealing with this idea, you will see that a minimalist living style goes far past just decluttering your house. It can be applied to how you spend your time, what kind of consumer you become, what you eat, your financial resources, etc. The advantages of minimalism encompass all parts of your life, and minimalist ideas can be applied to many areas of your life other than just your items. Minimalism is a tool, not the end goal. Minimalism isn't about owning less for the purpose of less. Instead, minimalism is a tool that can help you develop the life you want and give yourself the liberty to live that life. It's a tool to help you live purposefully so you can focus your time, space, energy and attention on what matters most to you. This has been Minimalism, the ultimate minimalist lifestyle explained, written by Rebecca Moraes, narrated by Audiobooks to Go. Minimalism, Feng Shui, Tips, and the Less is More Lifestyle, written by Rebecca Moraes, narrated by Audiobooks to Go. Table of Contents. Chapter 1. Here are 24 reasons you might be a minimalist. Chapter 2. Living with less items. Chapter 3. The best tips for minimalists. Chapter 4. Maximizing minimalism. Chapter 5. Digital minimalism. Chapter 6. Can Feng Shui enhance human wellness? Chapter 7. Small steps to a simplified home. Chapter 1. Here are 24 reasons you might be a minimalist. If you've been simplifying your life, or thinking about living more minimally, you could be farther along than you think. My actions were shrieking minimalism long before my brain registered that is where I was headed. 25 reasons you might be a minimalist. 1. If you have an empty attic or storage shed, you may be a minimalist. 2. If you are debt-free or paying off debt with gazelle intensity, you could be a minimalist. 3. If walking through Target or Walmart makes you actually uncomfortable, you could be a minimalist. 4. If your kids seethe at you because you cancel the cable, you could be a minimalist. 5. If you cannot stop giving things away, and your dog is stressed that he's next, you might be a minimalist. 6. If a good friend asks you to go shopping, and you would rather go to the dentist, you could be a minimalist. 7. If you don't want your parents or caregivers to stop by your yard sale, just because you're selling their stuff too, you may be a minimalist. 8. If you don't have a junk drawer, you may be a minimalist. 9. If you have more spare time than ever previously, you could be a minimalist. 10. If you've ever used a vehicle share service, you might be a minimalist. 11. If you're curious about dealing with less than 100 things, you could be a minimalist. 12. If mess makes you insane, you may be a minimalist. 13. If you follow less than 100 people on Twitter or 100 friends on Facebook, you could be a minimalist. 14. If you vote with your dollars, you could be a minimalist. 15. If people who can fit all of their possessions in a backpack motivate you, you might be a minimalist. 16. If you schedule time for nothing, you may be a minimalist. 17. If you sleep, you might be a minimalist. 18. If you read a book and after that give it away, you may be a minimalist. 19. If you want to have a loading party, you may be a minimalist. 20. If words like trinket and memento make you cringe, you may be a minimalist. 21. If you've considered living in a tiny home, you could be a minimalist. 22. If there are less than 33 things in your closet, you may be a minimalist. 23. If you spend more time thinking of ways to lower your overheads than ways to make money, you could be a minimalist. 24. If you have more resources, time, skill, treasure to give, you could be a minimalist. Chapter 2. Living with less items. Minimalism is all about living your life with less. This includes less financial concerns like debt and unneeded expenditures. However, is it truly as simple as just getting rid of your stuff? Documentaries, podcasts and books have been made and written all about minimalism and how it can change your life for the better, leaving you debt-free and with extra time to work on personal relationships. For many minimalists, the philosophy is all about getting rid of excess items and living life based on experiences instead of worldly belongings. You can probably see how having less items can also free up your life economically. Although it might just look like a millennial trend to most, minimalism, when practiced for the right reasons, can benefit your life considerably. Let's be sincere, you do not need all your stuff, so get rid of some of it. Practically everyone owns something, or a lot of things, they don't actually really need. Even though minimalism takes getting rid of items to an extreme, if you pick a couple of significant items to sell, you could make a little additional money. The minimalists, Joshua Fields Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus, have helped Minimalize grow via their documentary, podcast, and just recently their nationwide tour. They integrate a rule in their mentors, the 90-90 rule. That makes a lot of sense. You would think it would be easy to get rid of something you had not used in the last 90 days, but this is harder than it appears. Sitting in my apartment, I can see a handful of things I could quickly live without, particularly my big book collection. But it's hard to imagine giving those things up. In the meantime, when it comes time to move, I'm certain I'll wish I could fill just my vehicle with my belongings rather than renting a moving van. If you're more prepared than most and can part with most of your possessions, chances are you could probably generate additional cash by selling them. You most likely do not need a substantial apartment or house either. If you have less stuff, you can get purchase on living in a smaller sized place, which can be a huge cost-saving aspect. Studio apartment or condos are more affordable than 1 or 2 bedroom houses. Plus, If you're actually into the idea of living as a minimalist, but do not want to rent, the tiny home market is growing. Tinier places also cost less than energy. Heating a very large apartment or condo in the winter season can run you an additional $100 or more a month. The same goes for air conditioning in the summertime. It's simpler to budget if you have less costs. One of the reasons budgeting is so hard nowadays is because we have so many extra bills that other generations didn't really need to think of. Internet and all those streaming apps like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, etc. didn't exist when our parents or caregivers were our age. This also goes for factoring in expenditures like the lease cost of an iPhone. Just think about how much you could save if you didn't pay for internet, paid less for your phone, didn't need to purchase an automobile, and pay automobile insurance coverage, etc. That naturally presumes you could continue with your everyday life without those things, which tons of us could, no matter how difficult it might appear. If you think minimalism is just about eliminating your stuff, that's not entirely true. There are minimalist budget systems that depend on the less is more theory. Here are some crucial parts of this sort of spending plan. Use just one charge card, ideally one that offers rewards, if your credit worthwhile enough. If you pay your expenses this way, you will earn rewards and not have to worry about which card links with which bill. Have a single bank account and a cost-saving account just for an emergency fund. That makes it easy to move money between the two if need be. You also will not need to deal with pesky costs, and you'll decrease the potential for hackers if you have just one account. But be sure to use a very strong password. Besides, you will have the ability to track your costs a lot more easily. Of course, this kind of budgeting might only work for one type of person. This leads us to the complicated conversation of the issues within minimalism. The issues with minimalism if you reside on a low salary. Minimalism has been hailed as a wealthy, white bachelor lifestyle. They're the ones with the privilege of owning less. After all, if their car breaks down, they do not really need a spare one for parts. They can just go buy a new one. And they do not have the task of entertaining kids with a variety of toys and, in today's day, innovation. Here are a few reasons it's harder to be a minimalist if you're not wealthy. Buying food wholesale does not always reduce the food costs. It's easy to get concluded into the idea that buying wholesale saves money. However, unless you are buying for a huge family, that isn't always the case. It is not just the food you don't eat that goes to loose spices have a limited shelf life, which means they'll begin to lose their potency after a while. If you buy a container of cumin for one recipe, then only use it each few months, you'll most likely find yourself tossing it away before it's empty. But spices typically aren't sold in little packages, so how do you navigate that? With a minimalist living style, you purchase only the products you really need, and your food is consumed instead of thrown out. Meal delivery is a resolution to food waste. In the last few years, meal delivery has become a viable answer to food waste. You select from a choice of meal choices, then receive your items in a box with temperature-controlled packaging to keep every little thing fresh until you can cool everything. Each meal is portioned for the number of people who will be eating, with only the active ingredients needed for that evening's meal. If you choose a vast array of standard meals, Home Chef has down-to-earth choices like pasta and rice bowls and pork chops with vegetables. The cost is partially more affordable than rivals, which makes it great for families or those on a budget plan. You can choose between portions for 2, 4, 6 or 8 people, and meal choices are ranked by difficulty. However, because so many of us have dietary constraints, you may really appreciate the fact that HelloFresh has more options from low-carb to vegetarian meals. You can toggle between preparing for 2 or 4 people and customize your selection to vegetarian, family-friendly or low-calorie if you do not want the meat and veggie plan. As with Home Chef, it's not only a great way to minimize waste, but you will also learn cooking methods from expert chefs. I've also seen that Home Chef usually has unique offers running $80 in total over your 5 deliveries, including, but not limited to, free shipping on the first box, that are certainly worth checking out. Low-salary folks can't afford experiences. Minimalism is a concept based on valuing experiences instead of things. While it's true that you don't necessarily need money to enjoy your interactions with others, things such as travel or going to the theatre cost cash that most just don't have. Experiences can cost as much or more than the important things we can collect. The psychology behind owning is necessary to consider. There's a good reason lower-income people, specifically those who grew up so, hang on so securely to their possessions. If you never ever had anything maturing, owning anything now holds great value in your mind. Minimalism is all about having the right things, or to put it simply, pricey things. Quality over amount is a well-known phrase, particularly in minimalism. However, there's a good reason Walmart and wholesale stores are so popular. They're what the majority of people can manage. It's easy to own just one piece of good innovation. A laptop, for instance. If you're not continuously worried it will break and you won't have the money to fix it. I knew a lot of people in college who are highly inclined and kept boxes of additional, broken laptop computers for their extra parts. This is also true for clothes. Yes, buying a pair of truly nice $300 boots could last you years, but developing that money up front can be challenging for someone living paycheck to paycheck. The option: keep buying $30 replacement boots every year, or couple of months. Chapter 3. The best tips for minimalists. We've got the beginner's plan for getting on a path to living a more simple, minimal lifestyle at home and in life. No one single thing will magically make you into a minimalist tomorrow, but these ideas are a very good place to begin you on your journey. 1. Give yourself a clear personal objective and a timeline. What is your personal definition of a more minimal home and life? Is it to have only the bare minimum of objects? Is it to declutter a whole room of stuff you haven't taken a look at in months? Is it to learn to deal with less or stop purchasing things you don't really need? There's no right way to be a minimalist. We can all have our own definitions of simple and worry-free. Just make the effort to define it for yourself. Uncertain where to start defining what you do not want in your life? Focus on what you do want, what makes you feel alive, what you're passionate about, and after that start to strip away the important things, physical and otherwise, that are obstructing of you doing more of what you actually want to be doing. Provide yourself a clear goal with broken down steps to get, and remember to write down the important things you need to complete those steps, and then give yourself an amount of time to achieve each step, not just the last goal. Consider making notifies on your calendar so you are held liable. And don't just document what the objective is. Write down why you want to live more minimally. Less stress, more cash, less stuff to transport on your next move. It can be anything that means something to you. 2. Decide how your home can help you live a more minimalist living style. Your quest for a more minimal living style might point you in the direction of a smaller, sized or simplified home. This is a big step for folks who own or rent homes, but possible. Again, begin with an objective of what you want. Be specific. Not exactly sure what you want? Do some travelling and look to stay in homes in the size range you're thinking of. You're going to have the ability to envision your future life simpler. If it is a size, you can downsize too, or maybe the size and kind of your home is all right, but it is what is in it. 3. Declutter. This appears pretty apparent, but it can be the most painful step for folks who have a real attachment to tons of their items. Start slow and purposefully. Throw out or donate everything you clearly do not really need first. Then take and hide every little thing you think you could do without for several months. to give yourself distance to be able to give them away. Then use that inspiration to collect the guts to take decluttering as severe as works for your dream minimal living style. Keep reminding yourself that removing away as much stuff from your life will make it easier to accomplish a more basic life and allow you to have more flexibility. You don't need to only deal with a bed and a laptop again. You get to choose what living more minimally means to you. 4. Train yourself to deal with less. If you've been used to being convenienced for a long time, you might not be ready to take a very little plunge simultaneously. Consider having comfort-free weekends or months, gradually removing conveniences and high ends, even as easy as costly hairstyles or weekly motion picture dates, and seeing what feels okay to lose and what things are too important to your joy to give up. 5. Ask yourself, do I really need this? All the time. Before you swipe your charge card, ask yourself, do I actually really need this? And ask yourself all the time. Initially, you might quickly justify purchases out of routine. But as the question sinks in, you might find yourself seeing you do not need lots of the items you impulsively purchase. 6. Be a reuser. Another great practice to check out on the course to a more minimal way of living is learning how to be a great reuser. Save packaging for recycling for other things. Learn how to repair and fix things rather than change. Just use old clothes for scrap fabric for DIY projects. Be open to being creative to find ways you can reuse something you already have instead of purchasing something new. 7. Invest in top quality products. When you do have or want to buy something new, splurge on premium products that are meaningful for you. Keep in mind that it might be better to have a sporadic home filled with dreamy designs you love versus filled with things you just sort of like. However, also remember that again, you define what minimal means. 8. Be clear about why you want to be more minimal and remind yourself often. Return to the primary steps above frequently, particularly when things get rough, so you can remember why you are attempting to live more minimally in the first place. 9. Forgive yourself and keep attempting. As somebody who has handed out everything they owned 1.5 times now, I can guarantee you, we managed to acquire stuff at impressive speeds, and also register for a lot of work responsibilities too. This is just human nature. However, don't quit on your mission to simpleness. If you get up one day and see you have let or a lot of unnecessary things clutter up your home or schedule, just start over at the top, take in and keep trying. Here are a number of pointers to help you end up being more of a minimalist. 1. Give yourself a clear, personal goal and a timeline. What is your personal definition of a more minimal home and life? Is it to have only the bare minimum of objects? Is it to declutter an entire room of items you have not looked at in months? Is it to learn how to cope with less or stop buying things you don't really need? There's no right way to be a minimalist. We can all have our own meanings of basic and worry-free. Just make the effort to define it for yourself. Not exactly sure where to begin specifying what you do not want in your life? Concentrate on what you do want, what makes you feel alive, what you are enthusiastic about, and then start to strip away the important things, physical and otherwise, that are getting in the way of you doing more of what you really want to be doing. Offer yourself a clear objective with broken down steps to get, and remember to write down the important things you need to finish those steps. And after that, give yourself a time frame to accomplish each step, not just the final goal. Consider making signals on your calendar so you are held accountable. And don't just write down what the goal is. Document why you want to live more minimally, less stress, more cash, less stuff to carry on your next move. It can be anything that means something to you. 2. Decide how your home can help you live a more minimalist lifestyle. your quest for a more minimal lifestyle may point you in the direction of a smaller sized or simplified home. That is a big step for folks who own or lease homes, but not impossible. Again, begin with an objective of what you want. Specify. Not sure what you want? Do some travelling and look to remain in houses in the size variety you're thinking of. You're going to have the ability to visualize your future life simpler if it's a size you can downsize to. Or maybe the size and kind of your home is fine, but it is what is in it. 3. Declutter. This appears pretty clear, but it can be the most unpleasant step for folks who have a very real attachment to a lot of their items. Start sluggish and intentionally. Throw out or donate everything you undoubtedly do not need at first. Then, take and hide everything you think you could do without for some months, to give yourself distance to be able to give them away. Then use that motivation to gather the guts to take decluttering as severe as works for your dream. Minimal lifestyle. Keep reminding yourself that stripping away as much stuff from your life will make it easier to attain a more simple life and allow you to have more flexibility. You don't need to only live with a bed and a laptop computer. Again, you get to decide what living more minimally means to you. 4. Train yourself to deal with less. If you have been used to having conveniences for a long period of time, you might not be ready to take a very little plunge simultaneously. Consider having comfort-free weekends or months, or getting rid of comforts and high ends, even as simple as expensive hairstyles or weekly motion picture dates, and seeing what feels fine to lose and what things are too valuable to your joy to forfeit. 5. Ask yourself, do I truly need this all of the time? Before you swipe your credit card, ask yourself, do I really need this? And ask yourself all the time. In the beginning, you might quickly validate purchases out of routine, but as the question sinks in, you may find yourself seeing you do not really need lots of the items you impulsively buy. 6. Be a reuser. Another great habit to check out on the course to a more minimal way of living is learning how to be a great reuser. Save packaging for other things. Learn to repair and fix things instead of replace. Just use old clothes for scrap fabric for DIY projects. Be open to being creative to find ways you can recycle something you already have rather than buying something new. 7. Invest in premium products. When you do have or want to purchase something new, splurge on high-quality products that are meaningful for you. Keep in mind that it might be nicer to have a sporadic home filled with dreamy designs you love versus filled with things you just sort of like. But also remember that, again, you define what minimal means. 8. Be clear about why you want to be more minimal and remind yourself usually. Return to the primary step above frequently, particularly when things get tough, so you can remember why you're trying to live more minimally in the first place. 9. Forgive yourself and keep attempting. As someone who has given away every little thing they owned 1.5 times now, I can assure you we manage to obtain things at outstanding speeds, and also register for a lot of work commitments as well. This is just humanity. But do not quit on your quest to simplicity if you wake up one day and notice you've let a lot of unnecessary things mess up your home or schedule. Just begin over at the top, inhale, and keep attempting. Chapter 4. Maximizing Minimalism. You can be a things minimalist and try to get by with less things. You can be an open-loop minimalist and try to get by with less thoughts running around in your mind. You can be a cost minimalist and try to get by on less money. You can be a decision minimalist and try to make less choices each day, specifically choices about things beyond your area of expertise or core creative endeavors. You can be a distraction minimalist and try to develop an environment for yourself that allows for maximal focus. You can be an inspirational tension minimalist and try to develop a lifestyle that fits your natural desires better – so you can operate with more enthusiasm and less self-control. You can be an interpersonal dispute minimalist and try to strike new social agreements with people so there's less drama in your life. You can be a hassle minimalist and try to reduce the number of steps it takes to get things done. You can be a commitment minimalist and reduce the number of promises you make, which tends to decrease inspirational tension and social dispute too. You can be a squandered moment minimalist and try to lower the amount of time spent on things that are irrelevant to you. You can be an aspirational minimalist and get rid of your container lists. You can be a coordination cost minimalist and try to lower the amount of time and energy spent scheduling, negotiating, and making your actions work efficiently with the actions of others. You can be an expectation minimalist and lower your expectations for yourself, the natural world, and everyone around you. All of these minimalisms assure freedom. We can get more done, save more cash, and think more plainly when we don't have so many things, dedications, open loops, and negative feelings going through our lives. But you might run into problems when you try your hand at blending minimalisms. Many of these minimalisms work quite well together much of the time. But that is not always the case. From time to time, when we try to promote one form of minimalism, we will irritate another. If you live in the residential areas with a partner, 2 children and 2 vehicles, minimizing the number of automobiles will promote items minimalism, but work against coordination cost minimalism, just because now you will have to schedule and work out the application of the single vehicle. If you try to reduce the number of children, you will have even larger issues. If you try to save money with a less expensive vehicle, you can end up wasting time, increasing inconvenience, and increasing the number of rough decisions you really need to make. If you clip coupons, you're saving cash but losing time and increasing trouble. If you want to relocate to a smaller house closer to a bus line, you may promote all kinds of minimalism, but if your partner doesn't want to move, you are going to frustrate your desire for social conflict minimalism. And by desiring more when it's not very likely to happen, you will be annoying your aspirational minimalism as well. Quite often we can't decrease every little thing at once. We need to make trade-offs. And this desire to minimalism, which promised so much flexibility at first glance, starts to look like yet another trap and yet another source of disappointed expectations, problems, inconveniences, interpersonal conflict, and endless lists. Combining minimalisms. Still, minimalism feels a bit like a very good impulse. Eliminating barriers from our lives needs to be an advantage, right? So let's try to streamline it some. At the minimum, we will scratch an itch for conceptual minimalism. Perhaps minimalism is not mostly about reducing the amount of items we own. Perhaps at its core it's more about maximizing the amount of time, attention, and energy we have readily available for the most essential things in our lives. In fact, maybe our primary objective ought to be a maximizing objective. Taking full advantage of goal of minimalism. Try to take full advantage of the amount of time, attention, and energy you have available for the most important things in your life. Isn't that what we're really after? Aren't we brought into the idea of getting rid of stuff? Because having too much of it takes time, attention, and energy from more important things. Anytime some of our stuff breaks, needs cleansing, sidetracks us, or otherwise gets in the way. And cannot similar things be said for all the other kinds of minimalism? Now, this optimizing goal doesn't remove our need for lessening activities. Decreasing is just as essential as ever. Actually, at some times in our lives, getting rid of things, drama, expectations, goals, or unwise dedications will be the single most essential way to reach our making the most of objective. We still really need something like the following reducing method. Decreasing method of minimalism. From time to time, consider whether you can increase the amount of time, attention, and energy you have available for the most crucial things in your life. through the decrease or removal of stuff, dedications, open loops, goals, distractions, expectations, expenses, drama, inspirational friction, inconvenience, etc. If we think of things that way, we can still really appreciate the enormous value of all the different sorts of minimalism, but we can be less rigid about any one form of minimalism. We do not need to agonize over paying for a service or acquiring a new possession on that peculiar occasion, when the net impact is to give us more time, attention, and energy for what truly matters. Chapter 5. Digital Minimalism. Are you a person who struggles to have a much better relationship with your smartphone? If so, Cal Newport's new book, Digital Minimalism, offers up some pointers. As a specialist at the crossway of technology and wellness, and someone who also wrote a book on technology and joy, I had to give this book a read. Here are my preferred pointers from the book on how to end up being a digital minimalist. 1. Create a viewpoint of innovation use. Decide when, where, and how you will use technology. Focus specifically on using innovation in ways in which are consistent with your values. For example, you could only engage with social media in ways that promote your well-being. 2. Bookmark your favorite places. By bookmarking your favorite social media pages or sites, you won't get caught up or distracted as you search for what you are looking for. As a result, you'll be not as likely to get drawn into the web black hole. 3. Create an expense-benefit analysis for your tech use. We usually only concentrate on the benefits of tech. We can talk with our good friends or get directions. However, we often don't consider the costs. If we truly look at the cost of technology use, we see that we sacrifice crucial things to use tech. For example, we may not hang around with friends. Binging on Netflix might not make us feel so good. Or we might get depressed from spending too much time on Facebook. 4. You should try to use tech items with others. If you have a tough time stopping yourself from Netflix binging or playing computer games all night, make yourself a rule that you'll only do these tech activities with others. That way you will have social time even if you're having tech time. This is an example. You could play social computer games or watch movies with friends. 5. Reserve time for self-reflection. When we reflexively turn to our phones all the time, we have less time for self-reflection. Our brains are always occupied and sidetracked, and we can lose track of what's actually significant to us. By reserving time for mindful self-reflection, we get back some of what appears to be lost in this state-of-the-art world. 6. Hold conversation office hours. To make sure all your time isn't drawn up with tech and you save time to connect, hold discussion office hours. If this needs to get done, reserve a time when you're free to talk with anyone. As a result, you will be pushed to connect IRL. 7. Participate in social fitness. We typically use texting and social networks to meet our need for social connection. If we are not using these tech strategies to connect, we really need to find other ways to meet this need. One way is with social physical fitness, or being involved in physical fitness activities that are both social and physical. 8. Sign up with the Mouse Book Club. Mouse books are small books, the size of your phone, that you can carry alongside your mobile phone. Whenever you have the urge to pull out your phone, you can instead take out your mouse book. What a great way to both short-circuit your tech addiction and do some self-reflection. Chapter 6. Can Feng Shui enhance human wellness? Have you ever fretted about how to set up the furnishings in your home before a huge party? Ever agonized over where precisely to place the desk in your office? There are many directions one may turn to consult on such matters, but a progressively fashionable source of knowledge can be found in the concepts of Feng Shui. Noticeable, Feng Shui, an ancient concept about the relationship between people and spots. There are even professional Feng Shui experts who are waiting to help you out. What is Feng Shui? Feng Shui began in China more than 6,000 years ago, and it was the early motivation for the design of templates and other spiritual spots, including the Great Wall of China itself. Over time, it has become associated with building with respect for nature and for the earth in general. Feng Shui is based upon the belief that there is a continuous flow of energy between human beings and their physical surroundings. The name is stemmed from the Chinese signs for wind and water. A balance between the energy, represented by the wind, and the calmness represented by water develops harmony among people and between people and their surroundings. And this consistency promotes success, health, and a sense of community. Feng Shui concepts can be applied to interior areas such as workplaces and living spaces, and to outdoor areas such as gardens. The proper setup of the things and space around us is said to make the most of the flow of the positive energy needed to support a very happy life and a total sense of well-being. Basic Feng Shui concepts. The essential to understanding Feng Shui is appreciating the role played by Qi, or Qi. Qi is the positive energy that we wish to motivate in the places where we hang out, and it distributes best in spaces that contain soft objects with rounded edges. Irregular items with sharp points or angles can block or interfere with the flow of Qi, resulting in Sha Qi, which is an unfavorable energy that has a bad influence on both people and spots. To increase the flow of Qi and to minimize the presence of Sha Qi, the 5 aspects, water, earth, fire, wood, and metal, should be in balance with one another. You don't want to have too much or insufficient of any one of them. Feng Shui, as it is practiced today, is actually a New Age, westernized makeover of the age-old Chinese philosophy. It became well known in America in the 1970s, about the exact same time that acupuncture, natural medicine, and anything age-old and Chinese were all of the rage. In many aspects, Feng Shui has wandered off far from its roots. Feng Shui tools and decorating tips. Practitioners of Feng Shui use colour, sound and lighting to produce an ambience with the strategic use of artwork, plants and flowers, further customizing our moods. Water functions like water fountains and aquariums and wind-sensitive objects like wind chimes or flags can be included, usually to dramatic effect. In interior spaces, the size of the furnishings should match the scale of the space. Sofas should be kept against walls, and setups of furniture that make discussion challenging must be avoided. Pathways between parts within rooms should remain open and uncluttered. While a rectangle-shaped table can be fine in a dining room, circular or oval tables are preferred in living rooms, and a mix of shapes can create a great effect. Mirrors, reflective metals and crystal chandeliers can be used to make dark or little areas appear larger and brighter. In the bedrooms, it is thought best to put the head of the bed against the wall farthest from the door, but do not line it up directly with the door, as this has become known as the coffin position. Does Feng Shui in fact work? All of this sounds lovely, but what does science have to say about the effectiveness of Feng Shui design? Sadly, ecological psychologists who have studied Feng Shui have concluded that there's no evidence that following Feng Shui concepts have any quantifiable effect on humans. The main issue is that there's no reason to believe that Qi even exists, and without Qi there can be no Feng Shui. So, at this time, we must hesitantly conclude that there's no science behind Feng Shui. And if you happen to be trying to find a boost to your health, psychological acuity and professional success by utilizing unseen forces through the plan of furniture, you'll most likely be disappointed. Having said this, sticking to Feng Shui principles can still result in very attractive, welcoming spaces, and it may also vaccinate a little bit of fun into the design process. And what's the harm in that? Chapter 7. Small Steps to a Simplified Home. 1. Choose quality over quantity. As you create the home you want, do not think about filling every room right now. Instead, find crucial pieces for your space that will make a statement. Do not head out and spend a lot of money providing a whole room in a style or style that might not stand the test of time. Invest in furniture. Wait for vintage finds or collect unique pieces that will stay in your home for a long period of time. 2. Embellish with items that bring you happiness. While you wait on all of those unique furnishings products, which we'll admit might take a while to curate, depending on your budget, produce an area that will give a sense of hygge. Hygge is a Danish word that describes the fuzzy feeling you get when you take authentic satisfaction from your surroundings, no matter how essential or everyday they could be. The hygge effect is the distinction between worthless knickknacks that clutter your shelves and a beloved collection. If you have a collection that you love, put it on display, but do not mess your racks with worthless ornaments that just give you more cleaning to do. Do not be afraid to include items such as books, candlelights and tosses. Those types of products can at times seem worthless and against the minimalist technique, but they can play a major role in cozying up an area. Fill your home with plants and simple design items to bring life into your space. However, the less, the better. Less items on the shelves will mean less stuff to clean. 3. Develop a pill wardrobe. Take the second guessing out of what to wear by creating a capsule wardrobe. A pill closet follows the exact same idea of quality over amount. Essentially, what you do is downsize your wardrobe to the pieces that you really love and the staples. Joshua Becker's Becoming Minimalist blog site suggests playing the game of 12-12-12 to help you scale down. Select 12 products to donate, 12 products to discard and 12 products to properly keep, which have the tendency to be seasonal items. With the rest of your closet, pick a color combination, ensure you have the staples and ensure that you can develop plenty of clothing from them. After paring down your pieces, that number of clothing products you have now is your capsule. No more clothes can come into the closet unless something else is heading out. When your closet consists of less, you can invest in better products. And since you have carefully curated, quality outfits of a comparable color palette, everything fits, which means you'll spend less time just wondering what you're going to wear. 4. Get comfortable with purging. Whenever you take to a new company job around your home, begin with a garbage bag. Put in the time to assess which products no longer make you happy. Get rid of them. Have not used it for 6 months? Purge it. Coming up to the end of a season, take note of what you didn't use and toss it. 5. Have a one-in, one-out frame of mind. Whether it's clothes, kitchen area, home appliances or toys, encourage yourself and members of the family that when something new comes into your home, something else must head out. That is particularly useful for children's toys. When a person requests for a new doll, it might be time to collect unused toys and provide to a young boy or girl who will use them. Help develop a minimalist state of mind for yourself as well as your kids. Before the holidays or a birthday, get that trash bag and fill it with items to contribute. Having fewer toys will produce more time for sharing and communication. It will also equal less tension about tidying up after playtime. 6. Plan a digital social media freeze. For 1 month, week, and even just 24 hours, distance yourself from the social apps on your phone. Even consider erasing some. The contrast game makes you feel like you really need to be doing more and spending more, which will pull you away from your goal to live minimally. Make a mindful effort to be present in your each day and reevaluate. Is this really stuff you really need, or are you including social and tangible mess to your life? If you have not already, maybe also cut the cord, i.e. got rid of cable. Stop the cycle of needing to be amused 24/7 by seizing the channel surfing. Just try streaming your favorite programs, usually without commercials and ads, to save you a little bit of time. Who likes commercials anyway? 7. Go paperless. Most of the paper clutter that comes in the mail you don't really need or even want. Create a system for your mail that involves going through it right now and throwing out shredding unnecessary papers. Unsubscribe from mailing lists, magazines and brochures you do not actually read. Just try not to supply your address to firms who want to send you mail. Pay all your bills online and opt out of paper billing. All of these ideas will help you cut down on the paper, can be found in which you should save some peace of mind. Plus, you'll never have a cost lost in the mail. 8. Unsubscribe from emails. Unnecessary email newsletters are digital mess. They take time to go through and delete and can pull your attention into time-sucking places. And the absolute worst part is that your email is always within your reach. Limit all those emails about sales and vouchers from their source. Unsubscribe or stay away from signing up at all if they offer no real benefit to you. You may think to yourself, I shop at this store sometimes and staying on their list will help me know when there are sales. But these email newsletters are just more reminders of things you do not need. 9. Do not let money run your life. Budgeting isn't always as easy as it sounds, but monitoring your spending will give you an idea of what you actually really need to endure and how much excess you have. Only allow you and your family to deal with yourselves on unique occasions. Just because you have the money does not mean you should spend it on pointless mementos. Purchase experiences instead of things and make the effort to budget plan and save for them. You're going to appreciate what you spend your money on a lot more that way. 10. Do not try to go minimal simultaneously. Break it down and start small. You can start by contributing those items and organizing one space at a time. Make goals, but don't be described by them. After all, this process is supposed to be getting rid of your additional stress. Don't contribute to it by thinking you need to get rid of every little thing in your house. Learning how to live minimally could begin by simply using the word no. No, I'm not going to purchase another shirt today, or no, I'm not including another dedication to my calendar. No matter where you choose to start, decluttering your life and taking some ideas from the minimalism movement will help lead you to that simpler, less messy living style. This has been Minimalism, Feng Shui, Tips, and the Less is More lifestyle, written by Rebecca Moraes, narrated by Audiobooks to Go.